Ready to wear, made to order, made to measure. For the shoe care tip of the week, it's water. This is the 8th episode of the Shell Cordovan podcast. My name is David. I have my YouTube and Instagram account by the name of Shelvage. And this podcast, which is primarily on YouTube as well as Apple Podcasts, where I can talk about shell cordovan, specifically like traditional leather footwear made out of shell cordovan, as well as casual menswear, in particular the selvage denim kind. In this episode, we're going to talk about the upcoming Super Trunk Show in New York City on October 14th. We'll kind of take a deep dive into the article that Justin Fitzpatrick has shared on the Shoe Snob blog. Then I also want to talk about a few potentially exciting, well, they are exciting, but a few potential updates for the broader like shelvage community. Then I'm going to get into a brief comparison about two interesting leathers that I know a bunch of people are, very excited about, I guess, for lack of a better description there. This is Utah calf and Horween hatch grain. Then I want to talk about a topic that came up in a few recent conversations, and I'm going to describe ready-to-wear shoes, made-to-order shoes, made-to-measure, and bespoke. What should you expect in each of those categories, and why would you need to look beyond each category? Meaning, why would you have to look beyond ready-to-wear or made-to-order, made-to-measure, and bespoke? You really can't look beyond bespoke, but we'll get to that eventually. Let's start with Horween hatch grain and Utah calfskin. The reason that there are a lot of similarities between these two is mainly because of the visual appearance of these leathers. Both of them appear to have a cross hatch grain embossed texture to them, and they do. Surprise, surprise. Comparison ended. But for real now, the aesthetic is very similar. So a lot of the consumers out there see these as, competing leathers and trying to decide, is one better than the other, or just like what is the actual difference. We'll take a quick peek at the visual here for those that are watching this video portion of the podcast on YouTube. For those of you just listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you may listen to the podcast. Right now I'm holding a pair of burgundy Horween hatch grain leather shoes. This is my service boot from Tread Heavily Shoes. Really love this pair of shoes, or boots, whatever you want to call it. Now, if we take a look at the pair of leather shoes that I have from Ichigo Ichi'e, this is in the Utah calfskin. This is also a burgundy color. And let's take a quick look. And then I'll go ahead and kind of describe some of the differences, some of the similarities, and what are the key pieces of information that you should know if you're considering either or both of these. Let's start with the similarities and the basics. These are both leathers. They both have an embossed or printed texture in the leather, which means that it's not a natural texture or not a naturally occurring pattern. Now, as far as like the tannage goes, the Horween hatch grain is a combination tan, which means it's both chrome tanned as well as vegetable retanned. What this does is it gives it kind of a unique feel and finish to the leather, a little sturdier leather with the chrome tan add-ins there, and just overall it has a bit more of like a polished feel and finish to it because of that chrome tan base. Looking at the Utah calfskin now, this is a vegetable tanned leather. This is a very soft, supple, and it has a very natural feel and finish to it. It's something that's going to lend itself to be much more casual, even more casual than the Horween hatch grain, which is, textured leathers are inherently casual. But Utah calf even more so because it has that less polished feel that you see with chrome tan leathers. The vegetable tannage is a very, very matte luster. Doesn't have much of a shine to it, just out of the box or just kind of off the rack. And it's something that's really going to age and kind of absorb all of the elements, all of the environmental aspects, whether that's products that you add into it or just the weather that it's exposed to. Ultimately, how I would boil this down is the Horween hatch grain is probably what you're more familiar with when it comes to an embossed leather. The Utah calfskin is a very beautiful leather, more of an elegant, refined, casual pairing than a rugged, robust type of leather. Let's take a look at the New York City Super Trunk Show, or New York Super Trunk Show 2023. So this is an article from the Shoe Snob blog. I'll link it in the show notes, the description. This is the first US-based trunk show, and that's definitely pretty cool, exciting, revelation, basically. This is being put on their kind of like three main or three platinum sponsors, as Justin and Jesper are kind of classifying it. And those three platinum sponsors are Bridlin Shoes, Kirby Allison, and Saphir. The gold sponsors, which is kind of the tier under that, is Acme Shoemaker and TLB Majorca. And then the silver sponsors are a variety of folks like Division Bespoke, Dominic Casey, Jace Fitzpatrick, Norman Villalta. There's a lot of folks here in the silver sponsor section. Cool update, and I may have shared this before or may have hinted at this before, but the folks at Acme have been a consistent presence at all of the trunk shows since they came out in the handmade shoe world a couple of years ago. But they haven't really traveled to any of the trunk shows. They're not going to be traveling to this one either, but they're still going to have a presence there. And I'm going to be the person that represents that presence that they have there. Obviously, there'll be a bunch of shoes from Acme Shoemaker and a bunch of products, something that you can really kind of get your hands on and kind of feel, maybe even try on. I have to kind of confirm that, I guess. But so I will be the one that's at the Acme booth, helping folks if they have questions or just want to kind of check out the shoes and chat about what's going on. With that update, really look forward and hope to meet many of you there. If not, I also hope to have some type of recording, whether that's a live stream or if that is not a live stream, but I'll record it live and then play it back for you guys later on. This is taking place on Saturday, October 14th. It's from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's free of charge, no registration. It's open to anybody that wants to come and is able to come. And then there's the World Championship of Patina, of Shoe Shining, and of course, the World Championship of Shoemaking Tour is making a stop at the trunk show. So anybody that wants to get autographs from those boots that are traveling, make sure to get there early, get in line, and get your Sharpies ready, because the boots will be giving out autographs. For folks that are listening to the podcast for the first time, you've got to watch some of the earlier, or listen to some of the earlier episodes. That's kind of like a inside joke of the podcast. The boots are going on a tour. But the time slots are basically 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. is the Shoe Patina contest. 3 to 3:30 is the finals of the championships of Shoe Shining. 5:30 to 5:40 is the award ceremony for the Patina contest. And then at 7, the event closes. There is a Facebook event page here. I haven't even checked that out, but the hashtag, if you want to try and see all the posts across the different social media platforms, is hashtag #SuperTrunk. So as far as the updates regarding the shelvage community, there's nothing really changing. But I am looking forward to the possibility of getting a few shell cordovan products out there. Not just a shoehorn that's made of shell cordovan, but a shell cordovan care product or products. I really love this Brift H ebony stick. As you all know, I don't stop talking about it. But I also know that it's not very accessible to anyone else. I know there are other products out there like burnishing tools, like this piece of wood from Rocky Mountain Leather Supply, but this can get very precarious to use, especially with a point like that. For those listening, I've got my Brift H ebony stick, which is by far the best, tool that I've ever used to, care for shell cordovan, for the rolls, for the water spots, all that kind of stuff. This other tool is made of cocobola wood, and it's a burnishing tool. Basically the same thing, but the shape is different. It's got a very sharp point at the end, and it's got some ridges along the other end, which is used for burnishing the edges of wallets and other leather goods. So I am kind of exploring the opportunity, or rather looking for the opportunity and exploring the option of developing something like the ebony stick, in the States, and then making that more accessible from a geography as well as financial perspective. If that's something that you guys would be interested in or want more information about, let me know in the comments. And, as soon as I have updates or have anything worthwhile sharing, I will definitely do that. The other aspect of that is, like a conditioner for shell cordovan. I know there's like Saphir cordovan cream, and there are other products, especially like products that I use that I think are really good, and I use them on shell. But the shell cordovan cream from Saphir, I'm not going to get into it. I don't really like it. Venetian shoe cream, I know everybody loves it because that's what Horween uses, but Horween uses that in the tanning process. The products used to tan a leather are different than the products that you want to use after the leather's tanned and you're trying to maintain that leather. Either way, Venetian shoe cream, not a fan of. So I'm looking to develop kind of my own, shell cordovan product. Probably have to partner with somebody to do that. Probably have to, go through a very long time of experimenting and trial and error, research and development, all that kind of stuff. But figured, hey, that's kind of like industry news, so it's my industry news. So I'll share it. For the shoe care tip of the week, it's water. This stuff. The reason that I say, or at least I want to talk about water, is I feel like it's sometimes like underused. And now what do I mean by that? I'm the first one to, kind of advocate for, and especially like Pure Polish products. I love using their stuff. I think it's really the best products for leather, not just like the user experience, but like actually nourishing the leather. It's Pure Polish products. That said, like you don't need to nourish it all the time. You don't need to always add new oils, conditioning properties, all that kind of stuff. You just don't need to. If your leather is properly maintained and conditioned and polished, but it just is looking a bit less than ideal, water is a great intermediary, solution for that. You don't have to add more product to the leather. You can just use a little bit of water, which is a solvent, and it'll kind of like clean off any of the dirt, dust, or grime that's on the surface of the leather that's bringing that luster down a bit. You can also use it on shell cordovan just to kind of like wipe it off and then brush it, or you can even put a few drops of water on the brush and then brush your shell, and that will really kind of like rejuvenate the overall luster, shine, those kinds of things. I couldn't kind of like overstate how integral like using something like this filled with water is when I like care for a pair of shoes, and if I just want to kind of, raise them up a level or two before I put them on, it's a few drops of water and a brush. Very rarely am I adding more and more product to the leather. All that's going to do is eventually kind of build up a layer of product over the top layer of the leather, and you really want the leather to shine through. That's kind of the star of the show when it comes to the shoes, at least the shoes looking good. And any product or anything that you do should really kind of like complement that leather. It shouldn't cover up that leather. There's a lot of information here. It probably sounds a bit self-explanatory, but I can assure you it's not. And the reason I say that is not because I'm some kind of genius, but just based off of the questions that I get, both in DMs, and in comments. I know there's some confusion, so let's address that. Ready to wear, let's start there. Ready to wear simply means that, the pattern, the color, the last, the sizes, the ability to change anything, there is none. It's locked in. This is something that's ready to wear off the shelf. You don't have to make any of those choices, and you're not able to make any of those choices. Those are basically the limitations, the parameters, and you get what you see, basically. The reasons that you would want to or need to kind of move above this is because you either need to change a detail. Maybe you need to have a different last shape because you need something that fits your foot better. Maybe you want to make a change to the leather selections that are offered or the color. Maybe you want to add a different type of sole because you need a rubber sole versus a leather sole. These are all things that are going to be available to you in made to order. Now, there's different types of made to order. There's a type of almost like a ready to wear type thing where the shoes are not actually ready and they're made when you order versus like made to order. So something where like the stock just isn't there, but they make it upon your payment. I would say that's like made for your order, not made to order. I'm kind of splitting hairs. Maybe they're all really made to order, but essentially made to order is a customizable platform for you. You can choose certain things that you cannot in ready to wear. You can choose leathers. You can choose colors of leathers. You can choose different types of soles, different construction types, different patterns. So it's not locked into just a wingtip. It's not locked into just a loafer. You're making it to order so you can choose and mix and match all of the standard offers that, that shoemaker has within that like range of shoes. They'll kind of tell you what the options are or show you, and then you can pick, mix and match, decide exactly what, configuration you want. The reasons that you would need to kind of go beyond that to made to measure is really for sizing. Now, sometimes this is like a problematic fitting of a shoe or a foot. Other times it's just like, hey, I want to have a bit of a more like bespoke type experience without going like full bespoke, or maybe I just don't need to go full bespoke or I can't afford it. Made to measure is what it's going to do is it's going to take the existing last and they're going to make that last, that aesthetic, that shape to the measurements of your foot for, like 6 to 10 specific measurements. So like the length, width, the instep, the, ball or the heel to ball measurement, the, length of the arch maybe. So they're not building a last specifically for you. They are modifying or expanding an existing last to meet the measurements of your foot. Now in, parallel with that, you can also then kind of have that made to order experience on a made to measure last. That's kind of what made to measure is you get the made to order, but then you also have that last made to measure based off your specific foot measurements. Now, the reasons that you would go beyond that are kind of like twofold. Either you just have a very problematic foot and you need to have a bespoke fitting of a shoe for it to be wearable, in which case that is when you get a bespoke last, a bespoke pattern, all that kind of stuff, is in the bespoke realm. But what a bespoke last is, it's built from the ground up specifically for the shape, dimensions, measurements of your foot. There's no starting point. The starting point is a block of wood and then your foot. Same thing when it comes to the patterns, the leathers, the styles. That is all from the ground up. Sometimes this can be overwhelming, sometimes it may not be overwhelming, but this is kind of basically like when you go from ready to wear, made to order, made to measure, bespoke. Each level, you get a little more freedom, a little more creativity, and a little more leeway in how you can push those boundaries. Bespoke basically has no boundaries. Now, there are definitely limitations, and that's being able to afford, being able to wait for it. And really, is it necessary, or is it something that you're doing because you want that experience and you really like prioritize just the upper echelon of everything? Now, there are very few, circumstances where I think folks really like need all of this, and it's more so that like what it is that they want can only be obtained through one of these higher level, ordering experiences. And that's perfectly okay. I've definitely done that myself, and I was able to get the exact experience and shoe and design, color, all that kind of stuff that I wanted, but I had to get into like a made to measure in order to do that. Let me know if you guys have any questions specifically about, really anything that we talked about, but right now they're ready to wear, made to measure, made to order. That was out of order. Ready to wear, made to order, made to measure, bespoke. Really curious if that helped clear anything up, or if it's just like, all right, I knew that. But yeah, October 14th, New York City, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Really looking forward to it. If you guys can't be there, let me know if you have any questions or anything that you would kind of love to see, and I'll do my best to capture it with a camera, like a microphone, something, so that you all can experience as much of it as I will be experiencing it. Really appreciate those that have stuck around, watched the whole thing. If you did leave a comment, let me know what part of the trunk show you would most look forward to if you are going, or, would ideally be looking forward to if you're unable to go this year. Put that in the comment. That's how I know that you made it this far to the video, to the podcast, be able to prioritize getting back to you over anybody else, and really do appreciate the continued support. Got a few videos in the works. Excited to release those this week. Hope you'll watch. Hope you'll enjoy, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks.